Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz. This is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB game scheduled for Friday, April 12th, 2024. If you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comment section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my daily rundown best bet in the MLB, you can find those at the Premium Picks tab at pickdawgz.com. There's also a link in the description. Alrighty, here we go. Here are the games for Friday, Major League Baseball. First up, we see the Minnesota Twins taking on the Detroit Tigers. Pablo Lopez and Tarik Skubal are your starters. This game's 6:40 Eastern. I'd love to see an afternoon game here on Friday, but unfortunately, it's going to be 6:40 and later. And in this matchup, we should see the starting pitchers that were supposed to go on Thursday. Of course, that game got rained out pretty early in the morning on Thursday morning. And, I mentioned on the rundown, for this game, I like the under. Lopez pitching well this season. The Tigers offensively have not been great. They've been a pretty good rally team. We saw that in the Mets series and the Pirates series, the last game of that series. But this is a pretty good Twins bullpen, so I think Lopez and the Twins bullpen pitch well. And Tarik Skubal also really pitching well this season. I know his last game wasn't the best against the Oakland A's, but he was still sub-3 ERA on the season. The Twins offensively, while they got the win in that game against the Dodgers in the final game of the series, they still only scored 3 runs. They're striking out way too much. I think Skubal pitches well, so give me the under here. Next up, we see the Pittsburgh Pirates taking on the Philadelphia Phillies. Bailey Falter and Christopher Sanchez are your starters. Bailey Falter, I think he pitched well against the Orioles. Got to give him credit there, but I do think he was a little bit fortunate. Only 1 strikeout and 6 innings of work. The Orioles had quite a few fly balls and sharp contact in that game, and I think that he's going to kind of go back to where we saw him in the first outing of the season against the Marlins, where he did struggle quite a bit. He gave up 2 home runs, 3 walks, and the 6 earned runs. Against a solid Phillies lineup, I expect the Phillies to get to him just for a few runs early on. And on the other side, Christopher Sanchez is a lefty, and the Pirates are hitting lefties very well. Now, while we expect some regression there because their BABIP is really, really high to start the year, can't deny that they're number 2 in team OPS, number 7 in isolated power, and they have a 13.3% walk rate against lefties going into Thursday's game against Philadelphia. So great numbers against lefties. I think Falter struggles, goes back to where we saw him in that first game. I'm going to go with the over here in Pittsburgh, Philadelphia. Next up, we see the San Francisco Giants taking on the Tampa Bay Rays. Keaton win for San Francisco. No official starter for the Rays. This is a tough game to look at, especially without knowing the Rays starter right now, but I'm going to lean towards San Francisco. Maybe I like a little bit more as we get more information, but San Francisco and the Rays, both bullpens are struggling to start the year, but the Rays are at 6.43 in terms of their bullpen ERA, and if this is a bullpen game, got to be a little bit worried about that. And Keaton Winn, while he has not been great to start the season, that's for sure, a 5.73 ERA, he still pitched really well in his first start against the Los Angeles Dodgers. 5 innings with 3 run balls, 6 strikeouts against a team like the Dodgers. You'll take that all day long. He was not nearly as good in his next start against the Padres, where he gave those 4 earned in 6 innings, but I still think he can give San Francisco 5 to 6 decent innings, and if the Giants bats can get to Tampa Bay early, they'll have a nice chance to win this game. We're probably going to get a really good price with San Francisco. There's no official lineup for this game, of course, with no starter for Tampa Bay, so I'm going to load San Francisco in a lean here. Not my favorite game on the board. Next up, we see the Milwaukee Brewers taking on the Baltimore Orioles. DL Hall and Tyler Wells are your starters. DL Hall facing his former team in this game. Of course, he was a part of that Corbin Burnes trade in the offseason. So far, not the best numbers with his new team in Milwaukee, a 4.82 ERA and 9 1/3 innings. Only the 6 strikeouts with 4 walks and a home run to go with it. I think the Orioles will be able to get to him early on. I think Tyler Wells is a decent option in this rotation, but I don't love this Orioles bullpen. I think if this is a close game late, Milwaukee certainly has the advantage. So I'm just going to isolate this game to the first 5 innings. I'm going to go with the Baltimore Orioles on the money line in the first 5. Next up, we see the Colorado Rockies taking on the Tampa Bay Rays. Ryan Feltner and Kevin Gausman are your starters. I think it's really key that the Rockies got the day off on Thursday, as we know that this is a team that in the last decade plus has really struggled on the road, because when they finish up a Coors Field series and they're forced to play anywhere else in baseball the next day, it's really tough to adjust after the big altitude change, and it's why the offense especially is so much different from at Coors Field than on the road. But they got the day off on Thursday, which is going to help them a little bit, in my opinion. I still don't think they're going to be, amazing offensively in this game or in this series. But Kevin Gausman has not been well. Has not pitched well to start the season. I mean, he was somebody that was on a pitch count to start the year. He only went 4 1/3 innings his first game against Tampa Bay. He looked solid in that game, but still gave up a home run. And then his next game against the Yankees, he only goes an inning and a third, 4 base hits, 5 earned runs, 6 total runs, and 2 homers with 2 walks and no strikeouts. Gausman's been somebody the last few years that's been really strong in the per 9 strikeouts, walks, and home runs per 9. But he's given up 3 home runs, 2 walks, and he only has 6 strikeouts in his first 5 2/3 innings. So I'm a little bit concerned with Gausman right now, and I think with Ryan Feltner, how well he pitched in that last game against the Rays, it was at Coors Field. He goes 6 innings of 1-run, 10 strikeout baseball. I think there's value with Colorado in this game, and the Blue Jays offensively have not been great. We saw that in the Mariners series, the final game of the series. They didn't do much of anything, and they're looking at their OPS or isolated power numbers against righties to start the year, not great. I'm going to go with the Rockies here, plus the 1.5 runs, and on the money line in this one. Next up, we see the Los Angeles Angels taking on the Boston Red Sox. Reed Detmers going for Los Angeles, no official starter for Boston. Reed Detmers has pitched really well this season. He already faced this Red Sox lineup, and he was excellent in that game. He had 12 strikeouts in 6 innings of work with only 1 earned run, only 1 walk, no home runs given up. The Red Sox, not great numbers against lefties to start the year, especially as a team, a 30+% strikeout rate against those southpaws, and we saw 12 Ks for Detmers, so no surprise there. With Nick Pivetta going on the IL, the Red Sox are kind of scrambling with their rotation because they already brought in Lucas Giolito. He goes down for the season. Pivetta's out for a while, and there's a lot of question marks with this Red Sox pitching staff. The bullpen's already not where it really needs to be. It's near the bottom in terms of projected WAR. So I worry about the Red Sox pitching staff in this game, in this series, and really long term as well. I'm going to go with the Los Angeles Angels in this one on the money line. Next up, we see the New York Yankees taking on the Cleveland Guardians. Clark Schmidt and Carlos Carrasco are your starters. This is always a fun series. These teams have played in a few playoff series the last couple of years, so kind of a rivalry brewing between these two. And the Cleveland Guardians, right now, number 1 in the division in the AL Central, playing good baseball, but they did struggle a little bit with the White Sox in that series at Progressive Field. We saw the White Sox, jump out to a couple of leads early in that series. They played some close games, and the Guardians were able to take care of business on Wednesday night in walk-off fashion. But still, the White Sox are near the bottom of the league right now in terms of talent, in terms of record, and you don't want to see Cleveland struggling with those types of teams. You bring in the Yankees, who have the best record in baseball, and a Yankees lineup that I think will be able to get to Carlos Carrasco. Carrasco was sharp in his last game against the Twins to an extent. He had 6 strikeouts in 3 innings, which is exactly what you want to see, but I think he really benefited from just a really poor Twins lineup right now, a Twins lineup that's striking out left and right no matter who's pitching. So, Carrasco was only able to go 3 innings in that game. He walked 3 batters, his control was off. I think the Yankees, a very patient lineup and a potent lineup, should be able to take advantage of that and score some runs early on. The question is, can Clark Schmidt pitch well? He's been inconsistent to start the year, but last year he pitched twice against the Guardians, and I believe 8 2/3 innings combined, gave up 2 or 3 earned runs, so he was pretty sharp. The Yankees won both of the games that he pitched in against Cleveland, so I'm going to go with the New York Yankees on the money line in this one. Next up, we see the Atlanta Braves taking on the Miami Marlins. Trevor Rogers and Max Fried are your starters. The Marlins have a couple of wins now under their belt after starting the season 0-9, but I think this is their best chance at winning a game in this series, in this matchup here, as you got a lefty going for the Marlins, Trevor Rogers. He has been okay to start the season. The control's a bit of a concern, but he hasn't given up a home run. 9 strikeouts in 10 innings isn't too bad. And he's facing a Braves lineup that has crushed righties, but has not been that great against lefties. And we kind of saw that towards the end of the season last year as well. So no surprise to see that as the opening trend for Atlanta offensively. On the other side, Max Fried, similar to Gausman, you got to wonder, is he 100% right now? He struggled so much to start the season. He was not able to get out of the first inning against the Phillies. He was barely able to get out of the first inning against the Diamondbacks. He was able to go 4 1/3 by the end of the game, but he gave up, I think, 5 or 6 runs in that first inning, 7 earned by the end of the game, and a home run to go with it. He certainly looked a lot better as the outing continued, but still has that ERA at 18 right now. So I think this is the best chance the Marlins have in this series to pick up a W. I'm going to go with Miami plus the 1.5 runs and on the money line. Next up, we see the Kansas City Royals taking on the New York Mets. Michael Wacha and Luis Severino are your starters. This is starting to be a very dangerous Royals team. We knew that the lineup was young, improving. They hit the ball really hard last year, and we figured they were going to be near the top of the league in the American League in terms of hitting statistics. And now the pitching staff's starting to improve. The starting rotation's been one of the best in the American League, and the bullpen, who had a rough start to the season, is starting to improve themselves. Numbers getting a lot better for KC out of the pen. This is a dangerous Royals team. I like them in this game, in this series. Michael Wacha pitched well his last game, 7 innings of shutout baseball, 8 strikeouts against the White Sox. The Mets lineup's been very inconsistent, hit or miss for the Mets so far, and I think they struggle here. Severino also very inconsistent. The first game was not great against Milwaukee. He sharpened up in his next start against the Reds, but he was still only able to go 5 innings. I think the Royals either get to him or this Mets bullpen, which has also been inconsistent. I'm going to go with the Kansas City Royals on the money line on the road. Next up, we see the Cincinnati Reds taking on the Chicago White Sox. We're going to see Andrew Abbott and Chris Flexen as the starters. We knew this season was already going to be really tough for the White Sox. They were pretty clearly in their rebuilding stages in their franchise, but now you lose Luis Robert for 6 to 8 weeks. Eloy Jimenez has already been out, and Yoan Moncada adds to, another player to the list of the IL. He's going to be out for quite a while. It's going to be even tougher for this White Sox offense, especially. And the pitching staff, one of the weakest bullpens on paper in baseball. The rotation's not much better. I don't really love Chris Flexen. And you're facing a lefty here in Andrew Abbott. The White Sox have some of the worst numbers against lefties overall this year. I don't love the matchup for Chicago, and I don't love the long-term outlook for this team either. So give me the Cincinnati Reds on the money line and run line. Next up, we see the Houston Astros taking on the Texas Rangers. Dane Dunning and J.P. France are your starters. I like the over in this game. J.P. France and Dane Dunning both pitched pretty well in their last game against the opposition. Obviously these teams played last week. So Dane Dunning, he went 6 2/3, 3 runs against the Astros. France went 5 2/3, 3 runs against the Rangers. But France notably struggled at Minute Maid Park last season, and Dane Dunning notably struggled against the Houston Astros in general last season. He had a few games where he got absolutely crushed. So to face the same potent lineup in your rivals in the same week is just a miserable spot for these starting pitchers. The Astros lineup starting to get going now, and I think they'll be able to get to Dane Dunning early and often. Don't really trust either of these bullpens as well. The Houston Astros bullpen ERA is at 5.18. The Rangers bullpen's been a little bit better, but still, I think we see a lot of runs early and often in this game and in this series in general. Give me the over here in Rangers Astros. Next up, we see the Chicago Cubs taking on the Seattle Mariners. Jordan Wicks and Bryce Miller are your starters. I like both of these starting pitchers and their matchups in this game. I like the under in the first 5. I don't love this Cubs bullpen at 5.09 ERA, so I'd rather just take the under in the first 5 as Jordan Wicks, 13 strikeouts in 8 2/3 innings so far, and that was against the Rangers and Dodgers, much tougher matchups than the Seattle Mariners, who have one of the worst offenses in baseball by far this year. They're striking out left and right, just like the Minnesota Twins. And I like the matchup for Seattle against Kikuchi the other day, but they didn't do much of anything. I think Jordan Wicks pitches well. Bryce Miller's also been really sharp this season. His last game, 7 innings of shutout baseball with 7 strikeouts, only 1 walk against the Brewers, and that was on the road in a 5-3 Mariners win. Give me the under here in the first 5 innings. Next up is the St. Louis Cardinals taking on the Arizona Diamondbacks. Steven Matz and Brandon Pfaadt are your starters. Now, when you look at these two starting pitchers' ERAs, it looks like Steven Matz is having the much better season and could be the much better pitcher, but I do worry about regression for Steven Matz. He's not really missing a lot of bats right now. 6 strikeouts in 10 1/3 innings. We know the control's always a concern with Matz, and while he's been able to pitch well so far, I think that the Arizona Diamondbacks, a team that's crushed lefties this season, will be able to get to him early and often. And Brandon Pfaadt, I think he improves as the season goes along. It was a bad matchup for him last game against the Braves. They got him for 5 earned runs. The Braves have crushed righties all season this year. They did so last year in the last few years. But it's still nice to see that Pfaadt has 13 strikeouts in 10 2/3 innings with only 1 walk and only 1 home run given up. His expected numbers are sharp because of that. The per nines are exactly where you want them to be. I'm going to go with the Arizona Diamondbacks in this one on the money line. Next up, it's the Washington Nationals taking on the Oakland Athletics. Jake Irvin and Paul Blackburn are your starters. The Oakland A's are 2-0, and Blackburn starts this year, and he's yet to give up an earned run. I got to go with him in this spot at home against a pretty weak Washington Nationals lineup. Blackburn's more of a pitch-to-contact guy, so he's not going to miss a ton of bats, but he's been able to keep the ball on the ground. No home runs given up, only 1 walk, so the control's been there. And like I said, the A's, who are not going to win too many games this year, they've won both of his first 2 games. Jake Irvin on the other side, he was not great in that last game against the Phillies. The Nationals have lost both of his first 2 starts. 11 innings of work, 12 base hits, 7 earned runs combined in the first 2 games. He's got decent strikeout stuff. I think he pitches pretty well in this game. I think Blackburn's just a much better starter. I'm going to go with the Oakland A's on the money line. Next up, we see the San Diego Padres taking on the Los Angeles Dodgers. Michael King and Yoshinobu Yamamoto are the projected starters. Both starters struggled early on this season. They have now pitched pretty well in their last couple of games. Yamamoto especially, last 2 starts, 10 innings of shutout baseball, earning those strikeouts, missing those bats, and I think he pitches well. I think he gets revenge in this game after struggling to San Diego in that Korea series. Michael King, we know the control is always a bit of a concern. We saw 7 walks given up in that start on March 31st against the Giants. He was much better his last game, but still, when you look at the expected numbers, they're not the best. Yamamoto's certainly the better starter there. This Dodgers bullpen actually has not been great to start the season when you look at the ERA at 4.61. So I'm just going to go with the Dodgers in the first 5 innings, lay the 1 run, so we actually get a better price in this game as well. Give me Los Angeles laying the 1 in the first 5. And that's it. Those are the games for Friday in Major League Baseball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe and put your baseball picks in the comment section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.